Hey, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Harrison Barnes, the founder of BCG Attorney Search, and we place more attorneys in more law firm positions than any other recruiting firm in the world. We average more than one placement per day. Today we're going to talk about how you can waive into the bar when you're working in a different state. And the main thing we're going to focus on is what states have reciprocity for lawyers. If you have any questions about today's material, click on the link in the description next to Ask Harrison a Question, and you'll see a new window where you can submit your question confidentially. Before we start, if you're serious about getting work as an attorney, then you'll want to submit your resume to us so we can help you find a job. If this sounds good, have a look at bcgsearch.com, click on the link above, and go directly to our page where you can submit your resume and also look at our jobs. Okay, so let's get started. When it comes to finding work as an attorney, we all know that we need to cast a wide net, but a huge mistake many attorneys make is to not look at multiple markets in the search. And I see this all the time. People are worried about the complicated bar admission process in a new state or in a federal district court, which makes sense. But here's the thing, if you pass the bar exam, that's a huge accomplishment. All your hard work is paid off, and getting grades in college, acing the LSAT, churning out the law school applications, braving the Socratic method and final exams of law school, writing onto a journal, competing in moot court, and now the icing on the cake, a passing score on the bar exam. All that's left for you to do to fulfill the few remaining steps for admission in the state where you pass the bar, such as character and fitness determination, and then you'll be off and running. As you plan your job search, we encourage you to think about several things and applying to several markets. Our clients who are serious about career strategy always explore the benefits of applying in several markets. Expanding your search gives you additional options, such as lifestyle, salary, prestige, happiness, and other considerations. You may be the perfect fit for a market and job you never considered, and you might land that job without ever taking another bar exam. Let me share an interesting story with you in just a second, but before I forget, if you're eager to learn more and you want to go deeper, click the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so you can get notified every time we post a new video. When I graduated from law school, I started my career clerking for a judge in Michigan. I'd previously worked in a New York City law firm during the summer after my second year, and had every intention of returning there. The firm was serious, however, much too serious, and the people working there seemed quite serious, uptight and on edge. And there didn't appear to be any opportunities at all for me to advance there. So on a whim, I decided to apply to a handful of California firms, and I was glad I did. The firm I ended up with had no dress code, and the people were much happier than the firm in New York. And even better, I didn't have to sell my car. I got to live in a nice climate most of the year, and the firm paid just as much as New York law firms. It was a great decision for me in all respects. I ended up loving Los Angeles, and even though I had my heart set on moving to New York, I'm glad I ended up moving to Los Angeles. So your future isn't doomed if you never pass the bar exam, but your employment opportunities increase exponentially if you pass the bar exam and get admitted in at least one state. And we recommend you make every effort to do so, even if it means taking the bar exam several different times or in a different jurisdiction with an easier bar exam in order to pass. The reasoning for this is simple. Bar admission gives you the stamp of approval, elevates your desirability in the eyes of employers, and gives you the ticket you need to make a living. Without bar admission in at least one state, your resume can work against you. A potential employer will see that you're a JD, but you have not passed the bar and wonder why. Employers will often assume the worst. You are not smart or diligent enough to pass the bar exam, and they will not want to hire you. So we recommend that people buckle down and take the test as soon as possible after they graduate from law school. It is much easier to pass the bar exam when you're still in law student mode and the concepts are fresher in your mind. The longer you wait to take the bar exam, the harder it might be to study, because you get married, have kids, get into a full-time job, or it is difficult for you to take time off to work and study. The issue of bar admission is complicated because each state has its own set of laws, exams, and admission requirements. In order to practice law in the courts of a particular state, someone must first be admitted to the bar of that state. An attorney who passed the New York bar exam and is admitted to practice in New York, for example, must first pass the California bar exam and be admitted in California before practicing law there. Some states do allow attorneys to use bar admissions in other states to waive into the bar, which is what we're talking about today. Right now, there is a trend among certain states to unify the process of bar admission through the use of the Uniform Bar Exam, also called the UBE. Massachusetts is the latest state to adopt at least part of the UBE. Those states join Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, the District of Columbia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Oregon, South Carolina, Utah, Vermont, Washington, West Virginia, and Wyoming. UBE is a set of 3 testing devices prepared by the National Conference of Bar Examiners in an effort to provide a uniform way to measure performance across the country. The UBE focuses on general legal concepts instead of the intricacies of any particular state's laws. The UBE is comprised of the Multi-State Bar Exam, MBE, which is a set of 200 multiple choice questions on constitutional law, contracts, criminal law, and federal civil procedure, evidence, real property, torts, the multi-state bar examination, and the multi-state performance test. States can utilize some or all portions of the UBE and set their own scoring criteria. Every state except Louisiana currently administers the MBE portion of the UBE. Some states, like California, administer the MBE together with state-specific essay and performance test features. In theory, the UBE fosters portability of law licenses, but this practice is limited to a select group of states, and even in those states you will need to sit for the bar exam or find another way to get admitted if you apply outside the designated time frame. Other states that administer the UBE require applicants to take a separate course and test on state subjects for admittance. States like California, which is one of the most difficult bar exams in the country, do not use the UBE, so if you want to practice in those states, you need to start from scratch. The California bar exam is a 2-day test consisting of 1 day of essays and 1 day of the MBE, which has 200 multiple choice questions. The exam covers 13 subjects, including the MBE multi-state subjects, plus state subjects like community property and also remedies. Many attorneys opt to take multiple bar exams right away after law school, which maximizes employability and allows them to take clients in different states. This is particularly useful for attorneys who live in metropolitan areas that sprawl into different states, such as New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Multiple state admission is also a useful strategy for attorneys in less populated rural states because it expands the attorney's network of potential employers and clients. States in these clusters generally arrange their bar exam schedules so that people are able to take multiple bar exams around the country. Admission requirements for each of the 94 federal district courts differ, but at the very least, admission generally involves paying a fee and taking an oath. Many district courts require an attorney to be admitted to practice before the state courts of the state in which the federal court sits. For example, to apply for admission to the United States District Court for the Central District of California, an attorney must be an active member in good standing of the State Bar of California. Other districts simply require that an attorney be admitted in any state or get an affidavit in support of admission from an attorney admitted to practice before that district court. Special rules apply for gaining admission to the United States Tax Court and for becoming a member of the Patent Bar who can prosecute patents before the USPTO, or Patent and Trademark Office. Some states allow an attorney admitted in a different state to waive into the bars of their state, which is known as getting admitted on motion. Not all states allow an attorney to waive into the state, no matter how much experience an attorney has. And states that do allow admission on motion have individual criteria, such as the need to be sponsored by a local attorney. For example, the District of Columbia allows admission on motion based on criteria, whereas California does not allow it in any situation. Some states allow admission on motion, but only for attorneys coming from states with reciprocity to that state. Therefore, if State A allows attorneys from State B to waive in, then attorneys from State B can waive into State A. Federal district courts have their own rules about admission on motion and reciprocity. Attorneys admitted to practice in 25 of the nation's 94 district courts are given reciprocity, but that may increase in the future due to the ongoing trend towards greater access. Another way an attorney can practice law in a different state on a very limited basis is by being admitted pro hac vice on a given matter. Pro hac vice means for this one particular occasion in Latin. States and courts have their own requirements for pro hac vice admission, but normally a lawyer must be experienced and sponsored by a member of the local bar or even have a local lawyer serve as co-counsel. It is generally true that you must be admitted in a state to work there, but there is an exception for in-house corporate counsel work. You do not necessarily have to be admitted to the bar in California to do transactional work for an in-house legal department. Some corporate jobs require applicants to have a legal background, such as a JD, even if they will not actually be practicing law. For example, many banks hire people with legal knowledge to be trust officers. The legal background connotes, at the very least, an understanding of laws, contracts, and other subjects in that realm, whether the corporation wants to hire a full-fledged attorney or not. Sometimes companies do not want to hire a licensed attorney because they have to pay more. Instead, an unlicensed attorney, law school graduate, or paralegal is able to complete the same task competently. Having a JD will definitely fulfill the legal background requirement on a job description, even if the person is not a practicing attorney. Bar admission is complicated but useful. Bar admission is so useful that failing the bar exam even more than once should not deter you from giving it another try. If you fail the bar exam, don't get discouraged. Even top law students and attorneys sometimes fail. The bar exam, in one notorious case, Kathleen Sullivan, the former dean of Stanford Law School and a prominent United States Supreme Court litigator, failed the bar exam. If you failed the bar exam, don't get discouraged. Even top law students and attorneys sometimes fail. In one notorious case, Kathleen Sullivan, the former dean of Stanford Law School and a prominent United States Supreme Court litigator, failed the California bar exam the first time she took it. So what happens if you've taken the bar exam and fail? There are ways around the issue. First, of course, is to study harder and prepare better for the next bar exam. You know you're not the first nor the last person to fail, so there's no shame in taking it more than once. There is another way to get admitted to the bar without retaking your state's bar exam. The key is to take another state's bar exam, a state with a much easier exam and a much higher pass rate. Find a state with a high passing rate on the bar exam and compare it to your own state's exam. Of course, you'll have to study for that particular state's exam, then arrange for travel and accommodations, and all the research must be done on your own. So, with all this extra work and expense, what are the benefits? Well, here's an example. Let's say you're applying for a job in New York and your resume says admitted in Pennsylvania. That looks infinitely better than just having JD in your education section. At an interview, you'll certainly be asked about the situation, which can work to your advantage. You obviously don't want to say, I took the Pennsylvania bar exam because the New York bar exam was too difficult, or I took the Pennsylvania bar exam just to have admission on my resume. Even if that's exactly what you did, instead come up with a creative response. You could talk about how you once aspired to practice in Philadelphia, but later fell in love in New York, or that you found that the Pennsylvania law was interesting because you thought about living there. So just keep in mind that this may not work if you're applying for a New York job that requires a New York license. But for a corporate type job where that state's bar admission is not required, your resume will look more complete with another state's bar admission on it, as opposed to just a JD. Competition is fierce for employment, especially for legal jobs. Many of your competitors will have bar admissions on their resumes, so you cannot afford to be without one. So just don't rest on your JD. Do what it takes to pass the bar in your state, or in another state. Emphasize these preparation tips to overcome failing the bar exam. Conduct a personal assessment. Understand the law, memorize the law, and read carefully. When people fail the bar exam, they usually receive a tally of their scores on each question and receive a copy of their actual answers, for instance. In California, the bar examiners return the graded essays and performance tests to the applicants who fail, along with a scorecard showing their multiple choice, raw, and scaled scores, so they can figure out why they failed and take action to address these problems. You can speak with a former professor, former bar exam grader, or bar exam tutor who knows the law and how the bar exam works. And by the way, if you're serious about finding work and advancing your career, you might want to visit us at BCG Search and submit your resume so we have you in our database. We often move people from different states and work to help you relocate. It's often a very good way for you to get a job. So we'd love to review your resume. So to wrap it all up, here's what we know. Try to pass a bar exam in any state. Get it on your resume. It's that important. From here, just look into practicing in whichever state you choose. And when you look at other markets and use your qualifications to approach firms in other markets, you give yourself additional options. Lifestyle, financial, prestige, happiness, and other considerations that could be worthwhile. If you're working with us, please speak with your recruiter about applying to firms in other markets. You may not need the bar exam. I would estimate that 80% of candidates that I'm working with look at markets outside their home market for the following reasons. The economy varies depending on one region of the country to another. You may be very marketable in one region and less marketable in another. due to the concentration of highly qualified candidates. There may be better cultural fits for you in one area of the country versus another. For example, with me working for the judge in the area of the country I was in and looking at working in New York versus California. Your skills and experience may also be a perfect fit in one market and not another. There may not be any jobs in the area of the country you currently live in, while there could be plenty of jobs in other areas. This is very common if you work in, for example, a small rural area and want to move in a big city. Now, if you have any questions or concerns, please write them in the comments below, and someone from our team will answer them. And also, watch our previous videos by clicking the box on the left. And on the right is a video YouTube recommends just for you. You can subscribe to our channel by clicking the round icon on the left. And the box on the upper right will take you directly to the page on BCG Attorney Search where you can submit your resume, which I'd love to personally review. Thanks for watching.